All those in favor of the motion to change presentation by redistricting master to general discussion, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Thank you all. And Tina's back with us. Tina, hope you had a relaxing, restful, wonderful week off last week. Tina, do we have any members of the public who'd like to speak to us this morning?
Callers, if you would like to speak during public comment, please press *3 on your phone and I will unmute you. I don't see any hands raised. We do have some written public comment. I'll bring that up.
Thank you. So what I'm trying to see is if this is new from since last Thursday's meeting. It looks like this
Yes,
is.
this came in from Saturday, yes.
Okay. Not sure everyone can see this. I'm going to just read this.
Okay.
So dear committee members, I provided comment at the Friday meeting. I'd like to add that I printed a copy of the B2 map at home and as best I could located the 5 council members on it. It appears that 3 of our current members reside in District 4 and map B2, the one that is not gerrymandered. In fact, they are all fairly close to each other, even within that district. It is disturbing that anyone thinks that it is okay to have Clark County leadership concentrated in so small an area, be willing to gerrymander the council districts to retain some of that concentration. The attempt to disenfranchise voters living outside of District 4 is appalling. I can see why a majority of Clark County voters approved the 5-district map, which ensures better representation and finally gives representation to those of us living in North County. Yes, we, the voters, did understand what we were voting on. We did have access to the proposed map. We did want this. And if Karen, Gary, and Eileen have to run against each other in the future, so be it. It is not the job of the redistricting committee to protect council members over the right of the people to representation. Thank you, Jackie Lane. Is there another written comment since last?
There is one more, and here it is.
Ooh, this is a long one.
Yes.
Can you guys all read this, see this yourself?
Yep, I can see it.
Tina, can you maybe enlarge it just a little bit more? Thank you. So everyone had a chance to read that?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
So, Tina, were there any, okay, so we went through oral comments, we went through written comments. We're on to the amended number 5, general discussion. Janet, seemed like you, go ahead, Janet.
All right. I tried to make a summary of the public comments, the written comments, and so there's clearly were 3 comments that were in favor of A2.
How many?
3. There was one that I really couldn't tell because she said there was too much emphasis on the city of Vancouver. So I'm not sure about her.
I'm sorry. Who did you think? Who was the third?
All right, I'm going to go through and read the 16, how it went, because I did it in order. So Janet Hedgepath supported B2.
Well, if I could, Janet, if I could I was asking you about, you said there are 3 people who supported A2. I know, I know John Lee and okay.
John Lee, Carolyn Crane.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with that, Janet. I do not believe Carolyn Crane expressed her support for A2. I don't believe you could discern what Carolyn Crane was supporting or not supporting, other than what her own, apparently she had provided some information to Kamal, but I couldn't, in my own view, interpret Carolyn Crane's comments as being in support of A2.
Okay, I know she sent Kamal something, so I thought, well, maybe she's leaning that way. I have John Lee, I have Kurt Van Gelder as supporting A2, and the person who I could not figure out what she said was Cheryl Berkey, who said there was so much emphasis on the city of Vancouver. So I didn't know which way she went.
I thought Cheryl, in my view, I thought Cheryl Berkey stated support for B2.
Okay. Well, then the rest of the other people who spoke or wrote supported B2. And I only counted Jackie Lane once, even though she's made now 3 comments. I didn't want to give her extra voting. And so, and I thought perhaps the biggest one I thought we should maybe consider is the League of Women Voters, who are definitely nonpartisan, and they went through. Nancy Halverson, who's the president, went through, and I'm just going to summarize what she said, and then unless you want me to read what everybody else said, I'm not going to. She said, to honor the will of the voters, keep the population numbers as close as possible, move as few people as possible, sensibly compacted, and creates reasonable district lines for all our population, not just a few. And that's why she was in support of B2.
Now that one came in before the public meeting, so
right, there were
my only concern with that is that they came before the meeting, so it was like, okay, well, you haven't even seen.
I'm sorry, Juan, say that again?
No, to me, it was just kind of odd that it came before the meeting and they made a decision before the public meeting. But I mean, did they know what was going to happen during the meeting? I mean, there could have been some changes there to what they had seen in the past. So it's just a concern. There was another one that I saw that I think Tina sent out. You know, it was an email after, supposedly an email after, in support of B2, but if I look at the date of the email, it was Thursday at 5. We didn't start the meeting till 6. So it was just things like, okay, these were comments made before the public meeting. So I'm a newbie at this, so I'm not sure how that would play out.
So I guess my response, Juan, is I don't know if there was any information made available to the public at the meeting Thursday evening that wasn't available prior to the meeting.
Okay, no, I understood. That's why I'm saying I'm a newbie to all this, so I don't know how that would play out. I mean, if there would have been a massive change before the meeting that we've made, nobody would have known, right? Sorry, let me change.
No, I think
Well, I'm sorry, Janet. Juan, you were saying something about change to the map?
Yeah, if there would have been any changes before, just prior to the meeting, that those people wouldn't have known about, so they made the decision and entered it before the meeting. So,
Okay,
yeah.
but there weren't any changes made before the meeting. So
right. I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
I took the public comment as, well, here's what our group thinks. This is our opinion, and so they wouldn't have to necessarily appear at the meeting, that they wanted their written comments seen.
you know, I'll let Amanda jump in here, but and I'm certainly no expert in this, but I know, a lot of times county council has these kind of hearings for land use issues, right? And people come in and provide testimony, on one aspect or another of these land use things. But the information that's going to be presented at the hearing is made available to the public in advance of the hearing so that people have an opportunity to, review it, consider it, and make their comments in response to that. So for me, that someone sent an email dated or timed before the public hearing is not, doesn't change my view of their thoughts on the subject.
Oh, I didn't say that it changed my views. I'm just saying that it's, for me coming into this anew, it's kind of odd, right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty normal. Janet, do you have anything else?
No, I mean, I could go through and read what each person said, but one of the things that came up at the prior meeting was if the majority or the large numbers. And so if you look at the numbers, there were basically then 2 in favor of the A2 plan, and the rest of the 20 people, that's 18 in favor of the B2 plan, and so that's the overwhelming number. That's higher. I mean, the voters voted 70.9% in favor of it. The public comment was actually higher than that. Some of the issues that I think Kamal and Juan have brought up, one was the lack of an opposition statement in the voter guide, and there was an opportunity to put it in. They just didn't get in. No one chose to put it in a timely fashion. So, and the other thing is, the general districts that we're using were created in 2008 by the freeholders, long before any of these council members were on the council. So they weren't drawn to favor a particular council person or not. And some of your concerns about Karen Powerman and Medvigi, I mean, these are first-time counselors. They moved into whatever they are in the districts that they were in before, but it is not our concern to change the map just to favor them, because we're going to live with this map for 5 to 10 years. And that S curve and moving so many precincts and breaking up neighborhoods just is not a good look for Clark County. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Others?
So I have a question or a topic to bring up, but it's separate from the public comment. So I don't know if anybody has anything else to say about the public comment meeting before moving on.
This is just general discussion, so we're just laying it out, throwing it out there. So have at it.
Okay, so my question is if we are moving to a stage where we are still deadlocked, which I guess we don't know if we are necessarily, but what do we have clarification on what the actual next steps would be? I think something that has come up in discussions I've had with Janet is just it doesn't seem super clear from the county charter as it was written how much authority the county council has to draw its own maps if we are unable to reach 4 votes.
Well, and I think excellent question. I'm going to ask Amanda to chime in on that.
Well, it's obviously the charter doesn't speak to what happens if the redistricting committee comes to an impasse. As best that we can tell at this point is that we would, if there was an impasse from the redistricting committee, basically what would happen is we would be left with the RCW that governs the redistricting of Clark County. So that is RCW 29A.76.010.
Okay, thank you, Amanda.
And
Others?
as for what happens after that, I honestly, I can't tell you because it would be in the hands of the council. It's their decision at that point.
Can we put up on the screen either that RCW or have you read it to us? I know we've probably seen it before.
I can't read it. If I can, Tina, if you can somehow let me be presenter, I can try to get it on there.
I'm looking for it, although I'm not good at sharing.
I thought Paul also had it once upon a time.
Well, this is a little, he had the redistricting.
Greg, I'm gonna
Uh,
send you a link. Oh, wait.
It's 2976,
010.
oh, no.
So I have that available if needed.
Are
Oh, I
you,
can
are you in
share
a
it.
place,
Hold on.
you're good at sharing screens, Paul? Can you share that?
I can, I'll just need, someone will need to enable me to do that.
Bet Tina would do that.
Okay, can you see?
There we go. Yay.
Okay, that's my computer,
Oh.
so,
Oh, it went away.
oh, I had sharing ability and now I don't have sharing ability.
You're getting it back, Amanda, sorry.
Okay, thank you. All right. I got it. Thanks, Tina.
Hey, there we go.
Okay. So here's the full statute. You all see that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where it says it is the responsibility of each county to periodically redistrict its government unit based on population information. Blah, blah, blah. By December 31. I mean, this is the section of law that lays out the 4 criteria, you know,
Right.
4 or 5. 5.
So I have a question based on this and on the charter, because in some ways, the charter is inconsistent with this. The charter requires us to have, what is it? So basically we have to have 4 out of 5 votes because they said 2/3, if I'm correct. But this doesn't require that. This just requires a plan. And so I think we should go send the county council the plan that we agree on, or the majority of us agrees on, if we don't totally meet what the charter says.
Well, I don't know if your first part of that statement had any sort of question. Obviously, our charter can be more restrictive than state statute. That's the redistrict. Nothing in the statute describes how a redistricting plan needs to be agreed upon and that sort of thing. So that's why we have a separate charter. That's how that charter works. But there's nothing in the statute that says that the county must, the county, the legislative body must, I guess my point is, I suppose you could make that vote, but there's nothing in the statute that says that that is binding because the entire process is not followed in the charter. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I would not assume that just because a majority short of 2/3 votes on a plan that the council will necessarily agree that that is the plan that they have to consider.
Morgan, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. It, I think, clarifies what we are facing. It does, I think, also, I mean, I guess when we get to having more of a discussion about what our next steps are, I think, Janet's suggestion may be a step forward as well. That if, 4 of us can't decide, then it maybe needs to be that both maps are submitted to the council with clear indication of where the votes were, and hope that the council considers that information as well.
Well, I'm going to pop in just a comment. I think it would be better if state law had not just 5 criteria, but a 6th criteria, which is a criteria that I believe the State Redistricting Commission abides by. I know it's what was considered when the freeholders had their 5-district map back in 2013. It's arguably what the Charter Review Commission considered when they created the 5-district map that the voters approved. And the criteria that I would add to law is this: that when you're doing redistricting, you recognize, you try to make as few changes as possible to the existing boundaries, but to also, at the same time, you are working towards meeting the other 5 criteria. So, you know, as we've discussed and as I presented Thursday night, you know, you could summarize that by saying respect, align with the current boundaries. Unfortunately, it's not in law, but as I say, I think it absolutely has been the practice of the State Redistricting Commission, as well as parties that have been involved in establishing boundaries here locally as well. So my vote will take that criteria into account.
I'm going to say that I kind of agree with that. My only sticking point, and I think I've made it clear before, but let me make it even more clear, is just that there was a huge piece of information that wasn't there for the voters. So if that would have been there, then, you know, we would have been like, well, that's life. That's what we got to eat. But that wasn't there. So that's
What
just
piece
my
of information?
census data.
Mm-hmm.
And because once you put that census data in and through a, you know, a percentage, so that's just my sticking point. So I agree with Greg what he would want to put in there. I wish something like that would have been in there, but I don't think that's necessarily my point of contention in all this.
Well, let me so let me try that again, because there's only one point in time when you have the actual census data. That's only once every 10 years. So again, in 2013, when the freeholders were considering a 5-district map, they were using estimated data. When the 4 districts were created, they were using estimated data. When the Charter Review Commission was created the 5-district map that the voters approved, that's estimated data. It was stated in the resolution that voters considered that these were estimates and that would need to be adjusted. So I'm struggling with trying to understand how you can why you make this distinction between November or 2021 when we get the actual data versus using estimated data that's going to be that voters are told will be adjusted. I really do struggle with that.
Right. Well, so we're trying to adjust it based on that census data, right? Can we say that? So why wouldn't there be any changes from our end? 2, when was the census data due to come out? So, you know, I guess if it would have been estimated and then it would have came out, I think I've heard something like April. I'm not quite sure. I mean, that took about another 6 months, 6+ months, right? So I'm just saying that's the point of my contention. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand the kind of your logic on it, and I'm having a hard time. But
I mean, I was told, you know, that the census data was a key part of this, right? So there's a 6 months delay. Why was that? 2, if yeah, if you were going to estimated data in April and stuff, and then the census came out and that made changes, like I said, that would have been something that Kamal and I would have had to take it into account, and we'd be like, okay, well, this is what we got to live with, right? But census data comes out before we even start making changes, and then when it does come out, it gives us a scenario that there has to be a big change to be made, no matter what. At least from my point of view.
Can I ask why you think it needed to be a big change? Because I mean, I feel like the beat
5% in one, in one district compared to every other district being like well within the 1%. So that's a big change. That district was off big time.
But Paul was able to make those changes with a much smaller change than the one that the AMAP is. And so I guess I'm having a hard time understanding your logic of getting from the original map was bad because it was off on the data. We were able to find a map that had the data fixed that made minimal changes to that map. But that map's not acceptable. This other map is better. And I'm having a hard time getting from A to C.
I mean, we already concluded that to death, that it's not better, but it's the map that we think fits best.
But you are saying you think it's better, right?
Well, yeah, it's our map.
But why?
Because we were able to get the population even closer, and we made some changes that we think disfavored someone originally.
Can we ignore the population difference between the two maps at this point? Because it's negligible, right?
Yeah, understood. I just said that. So.
But you also said that your population map was better. So
I mean, if
say 1 and 2.
Yeah, exactly. So we're within percentages that are negligible, but.
Well, can
So
I
I guess
that the B4 map that we put up at one point in time actually got the population even better, even though it moved more areas and didn't look as good. It was actually better than your proposal. So you didn't even, when we put that forth and we were all willing to compromise, you all said, no, even if it has a better population, whatever, we're not doing that. And the sticking point basically seems to be putting Karen Bowerman in District 3.
Right. I mean, we think she got disfavored once the original redistricting committee was there because it was estimated data, right? So they estimated, they got the population really close. Then we got census data and it throws that off. So now there's a change that has to be made. That's a change we have to make. I think they should have lopped off the top of District 3 instead, right? I mean, but
so.
I'm just making this point here that that's a sticking point. That to me, the big point is that the census data was not known; it was estimated. When it came in, it showed that there has to be a big change made. That here's a change that we would like to see.
But even the map that was approved by the voters is better than the map that you put, even though the population is a little bit down in the northern county, because that's the area that's going to grow the fastest. They're going to get, if you were to take the data 2 years from now.
Yeah, we're not looking at 2 years. We're looking at the past and the present.
And the reason that census data was out was beyond anyone's control. It had to do with, a lot of it had to do with COVID. And
yeah,
that was something that nobody ever foresaw. It's not part of what the legislature or the charter commission ever anticipated. And so they put forth, you've got to do the best you could. The voters voted on the map knowing that the data hadn't come out. So you're saying that the voters, all of these comments, that you all know better than 71% of the voters. It wasn't just a borderline passing. It was a major pass in this county. Am I correct, Greg? How often do we get 71% of the vote?
It's been nice to have opposing arguments.
Yeah.
Saying.
Oh, come on, Kamal.
It would have been nice to have opposing arguments, Greg.
It would have been nice to have opposing arguments in the voters.
You said that in that last election advisory meeting, and I'm going to leave it at that.
What are you going to leave at?
No, I'm going to leave it at that. You said it would have been nice to have opposing arguments for each of those amendments in our not this past one, but the one before that.
Absolutely. I'll say it again. It would have been nice if every jurisdiction that places an issue on the ballot would recruit members of the pro and con statements. But my point today is,
Wasn't
my
that
point
an independent council? I mean, that's the other thing I can't get around. If it was supposed to be an independent council, it didn't matter if it was all Democrats or all Republicans, right? If we would have made, if it was all Republicans, we would have made, at least from my take, is we probably would have tried to go with the cons of this also, right? And put that up. So
I'm sorry, put what up?
the comment
Statements.
right?
So you're saying the proponents of the 5 amendment, the 5 chart, the map should have written a con statement on their own?
At least, yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm just coming in, but to me, that just seems like something I would have done. I've had to do it before. And then, hey, this is my project, but I got to show the cons too, right? I can't just show the pros that I think is great, right?
Well, so the way it works is these governments. So right now we have, I think, 7 school districts are placing issues on the February ballot. The members of those school boards voted yay. So if you're suggesting that they should then tell the world why people should vote nay, that's unusual.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying, if it was
Okay.
supposed to be an independent council, it didn't matter who was on there. Right?
But I guess when they're saying independent, they're saying nonpartisan. They're in favor of the things they're proposing. They would like to see them passed.
Right, and I think we just got this. We think our map is better because it's ours, right? I'm not going to deny that. I'm not going to say no. We're just trying to do this. This is our map. Yeah, we're all well within certain things.
Yeah.
All I'm gonna get to an end on this is that there was a key piece of information that changed something, and Janet brought it up. Well, COVID. This is unprecedented, right? COVID made things just that much difficult. To me, that's after about 2 years of COVID, I think we're starting to wear that excuse out too. But if in April those numbers didn't come out, it would behoove us to think that someone needed to think about, hey, how's this going to affect, right? Do we put this on the ballot when we don't have the one piece of information that we need to have? And it got put on the ballot anyways. They didn't even have the data when the ballot came out. So that's just my sticking point. I kind of want to leave it at that.
Yeah. I guess I don't want to continue the discussion because I'm not. We are at an impasse on that point about using estimated data versus using the actual census data that came out later. We don't seem to be able to connect on that. I do want to move back to the issue of the voter pamphlets con statements. Just as as the person who's responsible for issuing the voters pamphlet, I'm going to take the personal privilege and comment again on that. Persons who are interested in what the Charter Review Commission was doing could have seen back in April of last year that they first considered the 5 council map. A vote was taken in July. So persons who are interested in this 5 district map could have become aware of that back then. There was information in the news media in July, both several local sources of the news media publicized that information. Anyone who was interested in this issue could have contacted the Charter Review Commission and said, hey, I want to be on the pro committee, I want to be on the con committee. If someone had done that, the committee would have been obligated to consider appointing them to that committee. Once the resolution was delivered to the elections office sends out a news release to the media, as well as to people who've been asked to be included in that distribution list. So the fact that people weren't engaged enough to understand that is not something that can really be fixed. People need to be paying attention if they want to be involved in the process. So, but yeah, Kamal, absolutely, it's better when people get pro and con statements. You bet. I wish every jurisdiction would do that. I wish every citizen would follow this stuff, and when they learn about issues that are concerned to them, that they contact the jurisdiction and get on the pro and con committees. That's really the best solution for citizens to be engaged and following this stuff. There's plenty of information available to people, especially on this Charter Review Commission issue. It's all very public.
So I feel like we've already got a sense of it, but I feel like we should ask it. I'd like to ask Juan a direct question, which is, at the last meeting, before we decided to have the public comment, you did say if there was overwhelming support in favor of B2, that you would change your vote. And I think what we have seen is that, from my perspective, when 80%, 75% of the people at the public comment support B2, that's pretty overwhelming. So
85%.
yeah. So I mean, I guess, it's giving it. So do you feel that way still, or are you thinking no, you're not going to change your mind?
I think I got a lot more information in that public meeting that became disconcerting to me. So, in essence, I would say I would go against what I said because there was a lot of disinformation, things that came out of there that were just very disconcerting. But that's my take. That's why I brought up the point of the sticking point. Just to clarify, I'm coming into this very new, and I'm learning as I go, and I'm stumbling. But yeah, that meeting was very disconcerting.
How so?
Can you give us an example of what you found so disconcerting, Paul? I'm just curious.
Felt like all the comments are all the same.
What's that?
Word for word the same, it seemed like to me.
What was it, Kamal?
No, I was just saying all the comments seemed to be exactly word for word the same to me. So
It's almost like people agree.
no,
Well,
more like
be
that way.
Can I add to it, Kamal? One of the things that was really disconcerting to me is that we keep on making this point that we need to take a step back, that there was a big piece of information before the vote. I'm going to put it this way. The vote that the choices that the voters made, I think, were correct given the information they had. So I'm not trying to disparage the voters. A lot of people said, oh, we're not taking their voters. We should give them more credit in that. Yeah, I give them tons of credit. They voted on something of what they had, but there was a huge piece of information, and we already discussed what that big piece of information was.
So, just to try to be clear to myself, the big piece of information that you think voters should have had is the actual census data that was released later that year?
Right, because that census data should have been out before. If they would have had the census data, like I said earlier, if they would have had the census data on in April, then they'd drawn the maps the way they did, and then it would have been on the ballot. I think Kamal and I would say, well, this is what we got to live with. We got to eat it, right? But that's not how it happened. It's like the cart got put before the horse, and with the census data not coming out until after the ballot was written and then elected. So it was just that huge piece of information, right? So.
Well, we can't fix that one.
Yeah, we can't. So, I mean, like Kamal said, and you said it, yeah, someone dropped the ball on that one without the the statements, right, against it. But
I didn't say. If you interpret my views as someone dropped the ball, my only comment would be people who are concerned about it had the opportunity to get information.
We as Republicans, I'm going to say it, we as Republicans, we dropped the ball, and there was no, I think that's what I get, right, that there was no counter statements because no one showed up. Yeah, that's on us. That's something that has to get fixed. You have a great fix there, Greg. I think you mentioned some stuff that needs to get fixed. That's great. I don't want to be a rubber stamp to a problem that's coming in.
Okay. So I'm not sure we're making any progress here on any particular thing. Does anyone want anything else to offer up, or?
I have a question. Why, let's assume the vote goes the way it's gone in the past. Why would we send forth 2 maps to the county council and not just one? Why won't we just send, this is the map that we got 2/3 of the vote, but not 3/4?
Fine by me.
It's 3/5, right? So.
However, yeah, the math is not strong point.
But I guess, I don't know, do we have the authority to send something to the county council with only a majority vote?
Send them whatever we want. Doesn't mean they're going to pay any attention to it.
Yeah, fair enough.
What's the pleasure of the committee? Oh, you're muted, Kamal. You're still muted.
Can't hear you.
Oh, now you're frozen.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there you go. Computer.
Darn Amazon Web Service, you know? What were you gonna say, Kamal?
I was going to say send both maps to him. A2 and B2.
Okay.
Same here.
So does someone have a motion here?
Oh.
Go ahead, Janet.
I have to make a motion first that we vote on the maps and then later address what we're going to do with the county council.
That's a statement. Do you have a motion?
I move to make that we take a vote on map B2.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any further discussion of that motion? All those in favor of adopting B2, raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, raise your hand or say nay.
Nay.
Nay. All right. Then well, there we go with that. Is there another motion?
I make a motion that we send only the B2 map to the county council.
Is there a second to that?
I will second. But it did seem like Samal had something to say too.
No,
so
I was going to make a motion. No, go ahead.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll second that.
All right. Any discussion of that motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of that motion, send B2 to the council, raise your hand or say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All right. Is there any other discussions?
Should we get the nay votes?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, nay votes. Anyone who wants to sending B2 to the council?
Nay.
Nay.
Thank you. All right. Anything else?
Well, I want to move to make a motion to send both maps to the county council.
I second that.
All right. Any other discussion? So I'm going to comment that I'm going to vote against this motion because a majority of the council has expressed its support for the one plan. Certainly the plan B2, map B2 is out there in the public world, and anyone who wants, or excuse me, A2 is out there in the world, and anyone who wants to see it, it's readily available to them. But a majority of this committee supports B2. Other discussion? Janet?
I was wondering if you would, since you're so articulate on so much of what you said in these meetings in favor of the B map, if you would send the map to the county council with some written comments. You've been pretty articulate about, like when you, at different meetings, about why you support it. Or even the voter pamphlet or this or that.
Is there a motion to that effect?
I think there's already a motion on the.
Oh, thank you. I lost track. What is the current motion on the floor?
The current motion is to send both B2 and
you're
A2
right. Thank
to
you.
Council.
Exactly.
Other discussion?
Vote against, then we have to vote the rest of it.
Okay, seeing no more discussion, those in favor of sending both plans to the council, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Those opposed, raise your hand or say nay. Nay. Nay.
Nay.
All right, motion fails. On to the subject of what sort of message would be sent. What about, so again, we're back to general discussion. What about if the 3 members of this committee who supported B2 collaborate and draft a statement to the council. Would that, I'm not sure we need a motion to do that, and we can just do that, you know?
Why don't we, when does, they meet again on what? County council, when are they meeting again?
They won't be considering this until some period of time. So, hey, Amanda, I got a question for you. Is there any, there's no, this committee doesn't have to approve 3 members of the committee drafting a message. I mean, committee, I believe the next vote we're going to take is to disband this committee. We're going to bring this thing to an end. So Amanda, is there any reason that Janet and Morgan and I can't draft a message that goes along with the B2 with our preferred plan?
I mean, obviously there's nothing in the charter that requires it or doesn't require it. It says you can't do it. It's really just a decision for you all to make if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
It's not required for passage of the plan, but if you'd like to, I think you can.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Janet, I'm willing to be part of a group that puts that together. And of course, you know, Kamal, one, you guys could send messages to council too, along with, you know, just like everyone else can send a message to the council.
We can send that we can send the A2 map to them as well.
Of course you
You
can.
can do whatever. Yeah, you can do that. It's not going to come from the committee, but you can certainly do that as Kamal and Juan. You bet.
Yeah.
You bet.
All right, so who's going to start the writing? Do you want me to start it? Or do you want
Sure.
to do it, Greg?
No,
It's
sure.
always easier to edit something.
Everyone needs an editor. So I would, it seems to me that we're at a point where we should take action to actually terminate this committee. Does anyone have any other thoughts on that? Do we want to just keep on meeting on Mondays and argue about it?
Let's go around in circles forever. That sounds great.
Perpetual Monday back.
So I think a motion from someone to terminate this committee would be appropriate.
I move to terminate the committee.
And I would be great if Kamal or Juan would second that. A little
Sorry.
bipartisanship here.
Okay.
Thank you, Kamal.
I'll go ahead and second it to terminate it.
Any discussion? So I'll comment. I do appreciate everyone's willingness to participate in this project process. It's been a little bit bumpy, the first time it's been done since charter's created. Not sure what lessons have been learned here, but thanks to everyone for being involved.
No problem. Yeah.
I was gonna say I would also like to make a comment, which is just to thank all the support staff that have helped from the county throughout this. Tina, Amanda, especially Paul, Kristen, who's not here today. Like, they've been really, really helpful throughout the process, and put a lot of time into it and deserve our thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Morgan. Absolutely, absolutely. And of course, everyone, all 3 of those people are very, very worthwhile of commendation, but Paul in particular. I tried to do a little bit of credit to Paul. Thank Paul Thursday night, but you can't thank him enough for what he's done here. Very professional, very diligent. Working weekends.
Yeah.
Good job, Paul. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been good to get to know all of you.
Yeah.
But you're very welcome.
Other discussion? Janet?
So when I was working in the government, people could put letters of commendation in people's personnel files. So is there something that you can write up for his personnel file that would help him just as an extra attaboy?
I have already told his boss how much we appreciate what he's been doing. But I'll send Bob, Paul, I'm going to send Bob an email with the same points.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right. Anything else?
I'd just like to thank everybody
Yeah.
for being involved. It's a great learning experience for me.
Yeah.
All right. Seeing no more discussion, all those in favor of the motion to terminate the committee, say aye.
Aye.
Raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. All right. Well, everyone, thanks very much. Have a great holiday, and
Awesome.
I'm sure we'll see you around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe at council meetings when they're talking about redistricting.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Cool.
All right.
All right. See
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay, bye. All right, bye-bye.